I am Sigmund Freud, and though time has long passed since I first set forth my theories on the human mind, I find myself compelled, in this reflection, to return to a subject that both fascinated and eluded me: the psychology of women. In my era, woman stood as an enigma, an eternal riddle that resisted final interpretation. She was at once the object of desire, the bearer of children, the keeper of family, yet also the mysterious figure whose unconscious life often defied the categories in which men, including myself, tried to contain her. Today, the modern woman stands before me in a new form, emancipated, ambitious, restless, and yet perhaps still bound by the same unconscious currents that shaped her ancestors. What has changed and what endures? That is the question which I now attempt to contemplate. When I first began my work, I was criticized for insisting that the psychology of women could not be understood apart from sexuality. In the repressed atmosphere of the late 19th century, this was considered scandalous. But I could not ignore what my patients revealed to me. Hysterical symptoms, anxieties, depressions all spoke to conflicts rooted in desire, in prohibition, in the struggles of love and loss. If women then seemed to faint, to suffer mysterious pains, to withdraw into nervous collapse, it was not because they were weak, but because the society around them demanded silence about their most intimate impulses. The modern woman, I am told, has broken this silence. She speaks openly about her body, her passions, her ambitions. She enters professions once closed to her. She competes with men in business, science, and politics. Yet I wonder, has her unconscious changed at the same pace as her social condition? For the unconscious, as I discovered, is timeless. It knows nothing of political revolutions or feminist manifestos. It is the ancient reservoir of childhood impressions, primal desires, forbidden wishes. A woman of today may stand in a corporate office, commanding authority, yet in her dreams she still relives her earliest attachments to mother and father, her jealousies, her rivalries, her longings. Civilization dresses the psyche in new costumes, but the play performed beneath them is very often the same. I once spoke of what I called the penis envy of girls, a phrase which earned me endless reproach. I did not mean to insult women, nor to reduce their being to an absurd inferiority complex. Rather, I wished to describe a psychic situation in which the child, comparing herself with the boy, confronts difference and responds with resentment, longing, and fantasy. This discovery was not an accusation. It was an attempt to explain the turbulence of early development. Yet in the modern era, when women have claimed equality with men in so many domains, what remains of this theory? Perhaps the comparison takes a new form. No longer is the girl told that her brother will inherit the privileges of the world while she is confined to the parlor. No longer does she see education as his exclusive domain, yet she still confronts a culture that, in subtle and not so subtle ways, measures her against male standards. The envy persists, but it is transmuted. Envy of opportunity, envy of freedom from the dual burden of career and family, envy of the historical privilege to move through the world unencumbered. What was once a biological comparison has become a cultural one. At the same time, woman experiences her own secret pride, her own unconscious certainty of power. She is the origin of life, the one through whom all men pass into existence. This fact is not lost on the unconscious of either sex. If men have historically asserted superiority, it has often been out of a latent fear, a recognition of woman's unique capacity to bear and nurture, a capacity that men cannot replicate. Here, too, lies an eternal ambivalence. Men both revere and resent women for what nature has given them, and women themselves, ambivalent as well, may both glory in and recoil from this role. The modern woman, seeking independence, often finds herself torn between the pride of motherhood and the wish to escape its limitations. In my time, marriage was the almost inevitable destiny of women. Today, it is a choice, and increasingly, one among many. Yet even as the form of marriage changes, the psychic conflicts within it remain. A woman may desire love, intimacy, and security, but she also longs for recognition, for autonomy, for space to unfold her individuality. These desires collide, producing tension in even the most progressive unions. Modern divorce rates, modern loneliness, modern struggles with intimacy all testify to the difficulty of reconciling the unconscious expectations of love with the realities of contemporary life. For beneath the emancipation of women lies the unchanged power of the unconscious fantasies of childhood, the yearning for the idealized father, the rivalry with the mother, the wish to be both cherished and free. When I examine the modern woman in her professional role, I see both triumph and burden. In the past, women were barred from universities, from medicine, from the law, from science. Today, she enters every discipline. She is professor, surgeon, engineer, judge, astronaut. This is a magnificent conquest of history. Yet I ask, what does the unconscious make of this? The little girl who once played with dolls and imitated her mother now imagines herself as scientist or leader. Her identifications expand, her ego ideal grows larger, but the unconscious does not easily abandon its attachments. Deep within, there remains the conflict between the wish to surpass the father and the fear of his disapproval, between the drive to assert independence and the need for love and acceptance. Thus, ambition often carries with it anxiety. Success may be won at the cost of guilt, fatigue, and inner division. The modern woman carries not one world upon her shoulders, but two: the ancient world of family, intimacy, reproduction, and the new world of achievement, recognition, and competition. Society applauds her for being able to have it all, but the unconscious does not negotiate such slogans so easily. It demands sacrifice, and sacrifice produces conflict. If she gives herself fully to career, she may feel haunted by the absence of children or the fading of romantic love. If she devotes herself to motherhood, she may feel resentment for opportunities missed, potential unfulfilled. The psyche rarely grants total satisfaction. One desire gratified awakens another that is thwarted. Thus the modern woman lives with a restlessness that is not only social but also psychic. I hear that women today embrace feminism, that they reject the patriarchal assumptions of my time. This is admirable, but I must ask, does feminism eliminate ambivalence, or does it simply shift its form? For even in resistance, the unconscious remains active. A woman who rejects the authority of men may unconsciously still seek paternal approval. She may declare independence while secretly desiring to be chosen, protected, or adored. These are not weaknesses, but the complexities of the human soul. To wish for strength and tenderness at once, to desire autonomy and intimacy, to demand equality, yet long for love. These are the contradictions not only of women, but of all human beings. Civilization has not eradicated them. It has only multiplied the ways in which they are expressed. Consider also the body of the modern woman. In my time, the female body was concealed, constrained by corsets and propriety, its sexuality denied or spoken of only in whispers. Now it is displayed, celebrated, commodified, scrutinized. The magazines, the advertisements, the films all present the female form as spectacle. Yet does this represent liberation or a new imprisonment? Many women confess, even today, to anxiety about beauty, to the feeling that their value is measured by appearance. This is a cruel demand of society, one that implants itself in the unconscious as shame, as dissatisfaction, as unrelenting self-criticism. The hysterical symptoms of my patients have perhaps been replaced by eating disorders, by compulsive self-surveillance, by the constant comparison to impossible ideals. The repression has changed its costume. but the psychic suffering remains. And what of sexuality itself? I was once accused of reducing everything to sexuality. But if you observe carefully, you will see that sexuality is not merely the act of intercourse. It is the language of desire, the force that animates fantasy, the energy that shapes our relations to self and other. The modern woman, in theory, has sexual freedom. She may choose her partners. She may enjoy pleasures once denied. She may even reject partnership altogether. But freedom does not necessarily bring clarity. For the unconscious, sexuality is always bound to love, to power, to rivalry, to fear of loss. A woman may engage in casual relations, yet secretly long for permanence. She may desire intimacy, yet fear being possessed. She may declare independence, yet find herself vulnerable to the charm of seduction. The multiplicity of choices has expanded, but the unconscious tension of desire has not dissolved. It is often said that the family itself is dissolving, that modern women and men no longer find stability in the traditional home. Yet, when I listen to the dreams of people even in this modern world, I find the same figures appearing again and again. The mother who nurtures, the father who protects or forbids, the siblings who rival and compete. Civilization may alter its institutions, but the unconscious retains its archetypes. The modern woman may build a life without marriage or children, yet her unconscious may still produce fantasies of motherhood, of lost fathers, of forbidden brothers. The psyche clings to its primordial dramas. Even the most radical change of custom cannot erase them. What fascinates me most in the modern woman is her anxiety. Anxiety is the most universal symptom, and it has changed its surface, but not its root. In my time, women fainted. Today, they panic. In my time, women suffered mysterious pains. Today, they suffer sleeplessness, depression, a sense of emptiness. Beneath these symptoms lies the same conflict, the struggle between instinct and prohibition, between desire and fear, between longing and duty. Civilization makes women freer, yet also more burdened, more conflicted, more torn between competing demands. Progress does not abolish ambivalence. It multiplies it. And I ask, is woman, in truth, closer today to happiness than she was a century ago? Perhaps in some respects, yes. She enjoys rights, education, autonomy, power. She is no longer a silent victim of repression. Yet happiness is not guaranteed by freedom alone. The unconscious knows little of rights and laws. It obeys the ancient commands of love, rivalry, loss, and death. The modern woman may be free to shape her destiny, but she remains the child of her past, the bearer of her unconscious inheritance. She cannot escape the dramas of desire, only transform them. If we turn to the theme of love, we find that it remains both the highest aspiration and the deepest source of suffering for the modern woman. In my studies, I often observed how women became consumed by their attachments, how the loss of love or the disappointment in it could trigger severe neurosis. Has this changed? Outwardly, women today speak of independence, of not needing men, of creating their own lives. Yet when I examine the unconscious, I find that love remains central. It is not abolished by independence. It is only complicated by it. The modern woman may wish to love as an equal, yet she may also unconsciously yearn to surrender, to be adored unconditionally, to be the irreplaceable figure in the life of another. This paradox is not weakness, it is the very structure of desire, which always oscillates between autonomy and fusion. Modern technology has reshaped how love is pursued. Dating is arranged through screens. Intimacy is negotiated through fleeting encounters. And yet the unconscious still stages its timeless dramas. Jealousy, fear of abandonment, longing for exclusivity, these persist even in the so-called liberated arrangements of today. If anything, The multiplicity of choice intensifies anxiety. Where once a woman might have been bound to one partner for life, she now navigates a labyrinth of possibilities, each carrying its own disappointments. Freedom enlarges the field of desire, but it also multiplies the opportunities for frustration.